Guys, just a shout out to Liberty. They're amazing. They've been doing this for so many years, still from the old days of Learning Channel. They are amazing. They really care about education. My name is Kathy Hasty, as you saw on the screen there, which I'm supposed to say first, and my director's killing himself laughing in the background there. You see, when you get old like me, you tend to start forgetting these things. But Liberty, you guys rock. People, don't forget to download your Tenfold Education app. Don't delay, download your app today. All right, without much further ado, I have a motivation picture for you. Please have a look at this and just know that we here at Mindset and Tenfold Education believe in you. And I'm waiting for, there we go. Believe in yourself and all that you are. You know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. And please, these exams are not an obstacle. These exams are a means for you to show how much you already know. Okay, and we here, I for one, for life sciences, I believe in you because I know we have gone through a multitude of stuff. And if you've watched and if you've listened and if you've paid attention, I promise you now you'll get 100%. Okay, you just have to put in a bit of effort and think before you ink, because you're writing on Friday and I know you're going to be awesome. All right, first thing I've got here is a question that came through, which Mbali's loaded for me, is Machidiso. This is her question, and it's actually a really, really nice question. I know that a lot of you battle with pedigree diagrams. This is called a pedigree diagram. And it is a kind of a family tree. Now, I'm going to give you the basics of a pedigree diagram. First thing, this line across here is going to be the third generation. This is the second generation, and this is the first generation. So we start here with these two guys. So let me just get another color here. Okay, we start off with number 1 and number 2. That's your first generation. And these two people have children, number 4. They have number 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Wow, it's a lot of children. All right, now, if we look at these children, can you see that they are blank? So a circle always denotes a female, and a square will always denote a male. So here's the male, and there's a female. Circle, 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 square, square. And that applies to any pedigree diagram you look at. A circle is a female, and a square is a male. All right, now, have a look at this key, and the key says your shaded squares, your black squares, are going to be males with this disease and the female with this disease. And then that is the blank squares are without and without. So it means that 1 and 2 do not have the disease. Can you see? They are clear. But they have children 7 and 8 and 10 who have the disease. That immediately tells you that they must be heterozygous. Okay, 1 and 2 must be heterozygous because here you have children that, and there, so 7, 8, and 10 all are affected with this disease. And clearly, number 4 and number 6 and number 9 are not. They don't have the disease. That tells you that this disease is caused by a recessive allele. Now remember, alleles. What are alleles? Alleles are when you have your homologous chromosomes. Okay. This is going to be your maternal chromosome. This is your paternal chromosome. And there'll be a gene here, and there will be a gene for the same characteristic on the paternal chromosome. They're located in the same position. So same locus. and for the same trait. Okay, you can have a dominant or recessive allele. So let's say if we went for hair color, maybe this one's got a dominant black allele, while this one for hair color would be a blonde allele. So those would be your two alleles here would be capital B, small b for that trait. Okay, so let's go back to our diagram. What can we see? So this is everything that we can see. We can also see here that, let's get our navy, that 3 and 4 have this child here, which means that 4 must have the recessive allele and 3 must have a recessive allele, because this one has a recessive plus a recessive. Okay, and so it tells you these two are also heterozygous. Okay, they must have the recessive allele, but they are without the disease, so they must have a dominant as well. So dominant plus recessive and a dominant plus recessive. Okay, the same applies to 1 and 2. All right, if we look here at 10 and 11, 10 and 11 have these two children, and these two children are clear. But because 10 is going to have two recessive alleles, so it's going to have a recessive plus a recessive, to make that number 10, it means that both of these children must have a recessive allele, because they'll get one from their mom, okay, and a recessive. But look, the parent here is clear, so it means both of these children must have a dominant as well. Therefore, those children are also heterozygous. Okay, so let's look at what they're asking us here. They say, name the type of diagram. Well, I've already told you, it's a pedigree diagram. Oh man, can you believe that I can actually write so sillily? Pedigree diagram. Okay, then, is the disease inherited as a dominant or a recessive? Well, look at this. As I explained to you here, it must be recessive. Why? Because 1 and 2 have children 7, 8, and 9. And the fact that 1 and 2 can have these 3 children, okay, those 3 children, but they can have 6 and 9 are normal, it means that it must be a recessive allele. So we say it is a recessive. For heaven's sake, guys. You see, don't do this when you're in an exam. This is let me write it here on the side. It is a recessive trait. Okay, then they give a reason for your answer. Well, the answer, your reason is going to be that, where am I going to write this? Okay, so it's number 3. So for question 3, the reason for that answer is going to be that individual 1 and 2 do not display, or you can say show, the disease. Okay, look here. You see, they don't have the disease, all right. But they have 7, 8, and 10. So they don't display the disease, they don't have it, but produce, what were the numbers? 7, 8, and 10, but produce offspring or children 7, 8, and 10, that have the disease, and they also produce 4, 6, and 9, and 4, 6, and 9 that are without the disease. Therefore, or we can just say individuals 1 and 2 are, I need space, are therefore heterozygous. And remember, for heterozygous, you're going to have a dominant allele plus a recessive allele. All right. Okay, now let's go back and see what the next question is. It says, if N, let's just get a color that you'll be able to see. If N represents the dominant allele, remember your dominant allele is always written with a capital. And little n, lowercase, is the recessive allele. Now use these letters to assign the genotype, which means, remember, genotype is what is in the genes. Okay, it's what is in the genes. Remember, guys and girls, your genotype determines your phenotype. Phenotype is what is going to be expressed physically. So what you will see physically, all right? It will be displayed or expressed physically. Right, so we want to know the genotype of 1 and the genotype of 12. So let's see, we know that 1 is heterozygous, which means that 1 is going to be capital N and small n. All right, and number 12, here's 12. 12 clearly has the disease. It is a male with the disease, which means in order to have this disease, 12 must be lowercase n, lowercase n. And we say that this is homozygous recessive. And 1 is going to be heterozygous. You wouldn't have to say that in an exam, that or this. I'm adding it so that you know what I'm doing. And then individual 11 has no family history of the disease. Explain the probability of individual 10 and 11 having a child with the disease. So let's have a look. So what they're effectively telling you, let's get another color here, is that 10 we know is going to be N, okay, because it's going to be homozygous recessive. They're telling you that 11 has no family history, which means that 11 is going to be capital N, capital N. There's no family history. There is no one that's had this disease, which means the fact that he is in he has an unshaded square tells you that he is either homozygous or homozygous dominant or heterozygous. But if there's no family history, the assumption is that he is homozygous dominant. So we're going to have a homozygous dominant, okay? So 10 times 11, all right? So what is 10? So if we look at the P1, 10 is going to be a female with the disease, okay, crossed with a male without the disease. Okay, you wouldn't have to write, you just have to give the probability. I mean, the question is, I'm just showing you how to get that. It's 3 marks. So here we go. So if we have a female with the disease and a male without the disease, so that would be the phenotype. If we look at the genotype, we know that the female is lowercase nn, and it's going to be times the male, which has no family history. It's going to be homozygous dominant, no homozygous recessive. So now we do a little Punnett square. And I'm not going to put all the other bliff in here because we really just want to do the probability. And you are going to do what I'm doing here now on your exam paper. You'll just do it on the side of your exam paper. Okay? We've got our gametes. And we're going to have N and N. This is number 10. And 11 is going to be a capital N and a capital N. All of the offspring will be heterozygous. In other words, they are all going to be white squares. And that tells us they are all going to be without the disease. So when we answer this question, explain the probability, there is 100% chance that all children will be, how did they say, will not have the disease. Okay, and having the disease, well, clearly 0% of having it. All right, it's as simple as that. 100% of their children are going to be heterozygous, which means that disease allele that's recessive is going to be masked by the dominant allele.